if we just categorize feelings, these 5 feelings are bad and these 5 feelings are positive. So if I stay here, I can never get there. That's not true. These 5 are just the 5 first steps on the ladder, and then these ones are on top of that ladder. So you go from depressed or hopeless to angry. Okay, when you are angry, it's easier to move to just irritated. When you're irritated, you are closer to feeling hope than what you did when you were depressed or hopeless. So if you climb it, you will eventually get to where you want to be. When I've been in a bad mood for quite some time, I often find myself constantly thinking thoughts about how bad it is to feel bad. So not only am I feeling bad, but I'm also constantly noticing that I'm feeling bad. So what I do is I think thoughts about how bad it feels to feel bad. And that's how you're spiraling, right? So I think if you actually want to feel better when you feel bad about something, we need to tend to our thoughts. We need to tend to what we focus on. Because if we keep focusing on, I'm so sick and tired of feeling bad all the time. What's that song from Anastasia called? Sick and tired of always feeling sick and tired. And I think that's a huge clue, because when you get sick and tired of feeling sick and tired, you will just keep yourself feeling sick and tired. Because the way to get out of a spiral is to start focusing on something else. But that doesn't mean that you can go from here to here in one leap. So if you feel really bad, or you have been feeling bad for quite some time, for whatever reason, and you decide that you want to feel better, and you try to make yourself think about good things, or things that make you feel good, and things that you love, and you have this goal to feel great, then you will probably fail, and then you will probably feel worse because you couldn't get there. But the reason is everything we do, everything we experience, everything we feel is a process of several steps. So in the same way that you can't go from the first step of a ladder to the last top step of a ladder in just one jump. For most people, that's not possible. It's the same when it comes to your emotions and how you feel. If you start on the lower part of the ladder, on the feeling ladder, you can't go from feeling lousy to feeling great in just one leap. It's impossible for your brain to do that. And the reason for that is everything you think is a snowball effect. So if you think about something for, I think it's about 11-12 seconds, your next thought will most likely be in the same scale or just a bit better if you change your focus. So one thought leads to another thought like that. And because feelings always stems from the thoughts we've been thinking, that means that your thoughts decide how you feel, and you can't think thoughts on the bottom and then the next one on the top of the scale in just one leap. It's not possible. So you work your way either up the scale or down the scale. So if you are starting from the bottom, you have to work your way up the scale. So don't try to feel amazing when you feel bad, because you will fail and it will make you feel worse. But the thing I find that's very helpful, if I find myself stuck in a rut, if I find that I have been feeling bad for quite some time, I notice that, oh, no wonder I've been feeling so bad, because all my thoughts are about me feeling bad in some way. And that's because that's how the mind works. It runs on autopilot and it keeps thinking the same kinds of thoughts unless you decide to give it something else to think about. Sometimes it can be just a change in circumstances that gains our attention and makes us think about something else. And that's great, but we shouldn't wait for those things, because we can't guarantee that there will be these nice changes in our surroundings that will gain our attention, right? So when you notice you've been feeling bad for quite some time, what you want to do is actually, what I find helpful is knowing something that I didn't consciously know or think about before, which is this. Since our emotions and the way we think and feel always works in a ladder process, which means that you have to work your way up or down step by step. That also means that there are different emotions and feelings placed on this ladder, right? So the bottom steps are the worst emotions, like depression and hopelessness. There is pretty much nothing worse than depression and hopelessness and sorrow, because there is no productivity in that. It's no energy in that. It's just this feeling of emptiness or seeing no light in the end of the tunnel. There is no energy behind it that wants to make you take action in some way. You just stay there. So if you have found yourself on the bottom step of this ladder feeling depressed or feeling grief or feeling hopeless, and then you suddenly find yourself feeling angry or annoyed or irritated, that's actually you moving up the ladder. And that is because feelings of anger and irritability are actually more productive kind of feelings, because there's an energy behind them, right? If you're angry, you feel like punching something or screaming or just unleashing stuff to other people, nagging. It doesn't matter. These are isolated. They're not positive things to do, but they are moving. It's energy moving. So in anger and irritability, there can actually be movement. There can be action. And action and movement is always better than just staying flat and staying hopeless. And I think that's actually a very helpful thing to know about, because if I find myself feeling angry or agitated all the time, of course my thoughts about that will be, oh, this is a bad thing. Why am I acting like a bad person? Or why am I not feeling better? Why am I so easily annoyed about everything? And so I just kind of beat myself up about it, right? And think that it's a very bad place to be in. Well, of course, it's not a very positive place to be in, but if you compare it, it can actually be better than where you just were. And if you take time to realize that and to remind yourself of that, when you feel negative emotion that doesn't really feel good to you, you can compare it to other negative emotions that you might been having before that, or you can just compare it either way and see that, oh, I'm not on the bottom of the scale. I'm actually a step up or 2 steps up. And that's a good thing. And now my energy is moving. And there is actually great contrast in being angry or being irritated or agitated, because you can come to the point where you can't take it anymore. So you do something with it, or something happens that shakes you out of it. It's just your system taking over because you can't stand to be in that feeling because there's so much energy behind it. But the thing is, every emotion with energy behind it is so much better than emotion with this flat line energy. So of course there's energy behind everything, but it's not a productive energy. It's not a moving energy. It's not an action-filled energy when you are at the bottom. And if you are at the bottom right now, could it be helpful for you to think that, even if I choose to feel angry about something, if I'm depressed in this moment, or just feeling hopeless in this moment, can that make me angry to think about? If I think about the fact that I'm so low right now, wouldn't that get me a bit irritated? Wouldn't I think that it's unfair that I'm sitting here with this emotion right now? And then actually working yourself up to anger or irritability is actually a step in a positive direction for you. Because if you've been on the bottom of the ladder, you probably know already that it's impossible for you to take this huge leap and just feel great in the next moment. And I think that's one of the biggest mistakes that we are doing and that other people are giving advice to do, is just to try to make people instantly feel so good when you're feeling bad. You will fail. And I know this from experience because I have this helper gene and I'm a certified coach, and my whole life I have been trying to help people feel better. And that's what I'm doing now. That's what I always will do. That's why I'm here. I'm here to help people feel better. But I also learn things as I go. And what I've learned from the years before is that I tried to help people feel better by making them think about positive things, right? But that didn't help, because it was impossible for them to feel these positive things if they were feeling flatline, depressed, or hopeless. If you're hopeless, you can't find any hope in staying up here and thinking about the clouds and the birds and the bees and pink clouds, whatever. It won't help you because you do not have the right energy to focus and to think thoughts aligned with the things up here. So best case, what I did when I tried to help people go from here to there in one leap is that I made them annoyed. They got annoyed at me because this is not working. This is not helping me. And now you're just irritating me because you make it so obvious to me that I cannot find these good feelings that you want me to feel. So that was the good part in it. Because if I was able to help them go from depression or hopelessness to anger, that actually worked them up. So that is good, but I didn't know that then because I tried to make them go from here to here. Now I know better, and I just really want to get the word out there because we normally don't think in these terms. We think that negative emotions are bad and then good emotions are good, but it's actually more nuanced than that. Every emotion you have can be a sign of you starting to feel better, even if the feelings feel bad to you. They can still be a sign of you moving up the scale. And just knowing and reminding yourself that it's impossible to go from bottom step to top step at once. Just look at the feelings you're having right now and know that you could feel worse, probably. And if you can't feel worse, know that any other bad emotion with more energy behind it will be you moving up the scale. So if you want to feel better, don't go on YouTube and take advice from people telling you to go for a run or go to the gym or journal about the things you're grateful for because your life is so beautiful. These things will help you at some point, but very likely they won't if you're at the bottom of the scale. And so if you go and look for that advice to feel better, you will probably feel worse because you can't get there. But if you do, and you find yourself feeling angry or irritated because it doesn't work for you, that's actually you feeling better already. So my whole point of this rant is to just remind you that not all bad feelings are bad for you. Some of them are actually a sign that you're starting to feel better. And just by knowing that it's impossible to go from a 0 to 100 all at once is helpful, at least for me. Because I'm this type of person that wants everything to happen yesterday. So if I decide that I want to feel better, I want to be here. But then I can't. And just knowing that and telling myself that any other feeling is actually me moving to a more positive place, is actually me taking a step to feeling better. And maybe it will take me days or weeks or months, but at least I'm moving. As long as I have any kind of negative emotion with energy behind it, I'm moving. So instead of staying on the second or third step of the ladder and looking all the way up and thinking, oh darn, there is such a long way for me to get to where I want to be. That can make you feel a bit hopeless, and so that will move you back down the ladder again. And you don't want to go back down. So instead of staying down here and looking up, what if you stay where you are and look down? I have been down here, but I have taken one step for humanity. So be mindful of what you focus on when you feel bad. And if you can, stop thinking about how bad it is that you feel bad, and instead start thinking how good it is that you're feeling bad in a different way than what you were yesterday. And that's actually a positive thing that will make the way shorter for you to get to the top. That's good. So if you are feeling bad right now, just try to actually think about these things, reflect on these things for a while. Not all bad feelings are bad for you. Some can actually mean you're on your way to feel better. And I think that's helpful for a lot of us, because if we just categorize feelings, these 5 feelings are bad and these 5 feelings are positive, so if I stay here I can never get there, that's not true. These 5 are just the 5 first steps on the ladder, and then these ones are on top of that ladder. So if you climb it, you will eventually get to where you want to be. It might take you time, yes, but Just think about everything as a process. Think about everything as a ladder. Picture yourself standing on your ladder when you're feeling bad and ask yourself, am I on the bottom step right now? Am I on the second step right now? Am I on the third step right now? And just make yourself choose what you focus on. If you're at the bottom, it's okay to get angry about that. It's okay to get annoyed about that. That's actually good. So you go from depressed or hopeless to angry. Okay, when you are angry, it's easier to move to just irritated. When you're irritated, you are closer to feeling hope than what you did when you were depressed or hopeless. So just know that you're always moving towards something. And if you're on the third step of the ladder, it means that you have already done 2 steps before that. So stop focusing on how many steps there are left and just focus on the fact that you're on the way, and allow yourself to feel just a bit better by knowing that. Don't beat yourself up about it, because it's impossible for you to jump up a ladder unless you're superhuman. Remind yourself that you are doing it the only way you can do it, because there's no other way possible. So you are on the way, and not all bad feelings are bad for you. And it's kind of cool to know about that, don't you think? Thank you.